Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Okay, guys, subhanAllah, the Independent can't seem to let go of this story. In fact, they've done about 3 to 4 different vantage points on this particular story, and they've come at it from different angles. On this particular one, they're discussing the US government having recovered a unidentified flying object and don't recognize for the life of them what material it's made of. Now, our beloved ulama ikram need to understand what's being said here, and the audience is meant to glean from this. And this is deliberate. Again, I said, like I've maintained, that it's a psyop in order to convince humanity and open up their psyche to the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Now, before we break this down, which I'll do very quickly, inshallah ta'ala, I won't take too much of your time. Before we break it down, what I've understood, and I've certainly have prompted our beloved ulama ikram in this regard, and I've had zero response. So I'm going to assume for now at least that it's a correct position, which is that the only makhluk that will contact Ibn Adam during their tenure in Alami Wujud is going to be Dajjal Lanatullahi alayh, Yajuj wa Majuj, Jinn, Malaika, and Dabatul Ard. Any other makhluk that will have a huge impact on the psyche of humanity and on our history or on our future has not been alluded to other than these particular kind. Any other makhluk I am not personally aware of that will make contact with Ibn Adam. And I understand that the Prophet ﷺ has not alluded to, right, in Quran or Hadith. Subhanallah, there is no mention of any other makhluk. We are not negating the possibility of other makhluk existing, right? Whether that would be in our universe, outside of a universe, or whichever alam Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in addition to the one that we exist in. And there are countless, okay? There's a plethora of them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. What is being discussed and what we need to understand, and maybe perhaps at least get to the bottom of the ulama ikram need to, and at huge haste, by the way, before this PSY-OP makes further progress, is that this particular makhluk being referred to is very likely, in fact, the jinn. And it's Napak jinn who are basically working in cahoots with the shayateen in Ins under the stewardship of Iblis Lanatullahi alayh. And it's to open up the public psyche, like I've mentioned, and have postulated in the science PDF for our beloved ulama ikram who have been following it for the past few years. Will be intimately aware of my position that I continue to maintain, and then provide substantial evidence to augment and support that particular postulation, that this is what seems to be happening on the Ummah, and for some reason it eludes us. Subhanallah, it's ajib, but we need to break the backbone of this particular fitna, because what they're saying over here is despite the US government, and they are familiar with every kind of aircraft, every kind of flying apparatus that's available domestically or not domestically. So it could be non-US flying aircraft. Globally, they are aware of every single one and can recognize it and its capacity and capabilities. Yet despite that, despite having those resources available to them, they have maintained, they've recovered this particular aircraft, but also that it's unidentified. In other words, they can't identify it, and they can't recognize what this particular object is made of, the material from which it's made of. Huge, absolutely huge statement. What they're saying is, out of all the elements that exist in the periodical table, which is 118, by the way, they do not recognize the material with which this flying object is made of. It's not terrestrial, it's not earthly, in other words. So by extension, what they're saying is it's come from outside of Earth, and it's a flying object. A flying object requires some sort of intelligence to fly it. So what they're saying is it's a flying object, right? It requires some sort of an intelligence. It's come to Earth, and they do not recognize what it's made of. In other words, what they're saying is, in a nutshell, and this is the Independent, by the way, yesterday's story, that extraterrestrial life, alien beings exist. Now the ulama ikram need to filter this. They need to filter it through Quran and Hadith and then get to the bottom of it, and subhanAllah, educate the ummah. Please, I implore you, I beg you, educate the ummah. This is a huge fitna, which is going to introduce Dajjal lanatullahi alayhi to the world, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But there seems to be very likely, from all the studies and the research I've been doing, to whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided me to since my visit to Al-Quds and my Umrah from there, right? Since being made privy to and becoming aware of this binary star system having merged with our solar system and the effects it's having and what could potentially happen when it exits, and what the shayateen and ins and jinn are scheming around its arrival and its exit. All of that has been summarized on one level or the other in the science PDF and then augmented by the channel. I can only implore beloved ulama ikram to look into this. It's a huge fitna, and if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala utilizes you on any level to break the backbone of this fitna on one level or the other, at least secure, subhanallah, the iman of the Muslim ummah on one level or the other in this regard, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes you maybe perhaps the first individual to maybe perhaps address this scholarly individual to address this particular matter for the sake of the ummah, the Muslim ummah. And subhanallah, all the khair that will come into existence. I can only give you that, I guess. I can only mention the fadail of addressing such a huge fitna, and then at least preparing on one level or the other the Muslim ummah to anticipate the possibility of this sort of a hoax and a false stage extraterrestrial contact, so that the iman, because this will have a huge impact, they are seeking to, as I understand it, sidestep Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a creator and introduce these extraterrestrial sentient advanced, technologically advanced beings, false ones of course, but they'll claim to be, as our creators, right? Who spliced the genome of the Homo erectus with that of their own DNA and then created Adam alayhi salam and Hawa, na'uzubillah min zalik. This will be the claim, and then since then they've been involved in our history historically and have been coercing mankind to this particular point. And then the Dajjal, lanatullahi alayhi, will reveal himself, and then will come that spiritual religion of the third eye that we've discussed and explored, and I've augmented on the channel. There's certainly lots of material with regards to that as well. Again, I can only implore you guys, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect and guide us to haq. I'm not saying I have the monopoly over it, na'uzubillah min zalik, but it seems very likely that this is what's going on, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from it. Jazakallahu khairun again, wa ahsanul jazaa for your time and your patience. I really do appreciate it. I know you are very patient with me, but I'm sure you'll also understand why my anxiety. I've not been able to shrug this off, and every time, as every day that goes past, it seems that my position seems to be more and more accurate. And again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Jazakallahu khairan wa sallallahu for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.